Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Talking About Birds, the only Cardinal podcast that, like Jim Edmonds, doesn't understand acronyms. My name is Nate Heininger, and I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Vin Samorka.
Hi, everyone. I want to, before we get into that, I also want to point out that Jim Edmonds on a broadcast, I think it was last week, said that he did not understand splits, like lefty-righty splits.
Professional broadcaster. And this week, among many things, we are going to be talking about our trip to Fenway, some recent roster moves, the upcoming trade deadline, and the rotation. If you have an idea for the opening joke, tweet us at Talk About Birds. Well, this episode's going to be maybe a little lower energy than the ones we've had in the past. But you know what? We did it. We're back. I think I might have broken a rib.
Yeah. Oh, really?
It's at least very, very bruised. It happened. I'm not sure, but I have one of two things. Either when I beefed it real hard out front of Fenway, which I don't think you saw.
I did not see that. Oh man. Dang it. I didn't even hear about that.
Yeah, well, I feel like I nailed it, but it was a nice tuck and roll.
Yeah.
But I've got various parts of my body that tell me I didn't land it as well as I did. Or it's because I was laughing so hard at 3:00 in the morning when that table split in half. And I don't know that I've ever laughed any harder. There was a combination of a lot of things that came together for that moment, but I might have broken a rib because I was laughing so hard.
My right knee is super swollen, and I know exactly what happened. And that was, we were playing beer ball, and I jumped over somebody's legs to go get the ball. And then I thought coming back that person, being a good sport, would have moved their legs so that I didn't have to jump over, but they did not. And I didn't have my wits about me. And I basically just jumped over their legs and landed on the ground. And my knee is just not working so well. So that's where I'm at.
We're getting old, Ben.
Yeah.
What'd you think of Fenway?
I mean, it was everything I wanted it to be and more. It was a dream come true, a long time coming, a bucket list item. I think, maybe short of the Hall of Fame, which I've been lucky enough to go to, it was probably the number one baseball destination I have on my list. It's hallowed grounds. It's special. It's the most. It's the most unique sporting event or sporting venue I can think of.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's something old in Europe that I'm forgetting about that people will be mad about. But it was
maybe like a certain Coliseum.
Still in use. They don't still kill people in there or whatever they did.
That's a good point.
Still in
Why bother
use.
going?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Who needs it? Put a diamond in there and I'll show up. But yeah, it was amazing. I think, anyone who hasn't been there, who has been to Wrigley, I think it's very reminiscent, that you're walking through certain parts of the stadium, and I'm not like a massive guy, but I'm a little on the taller side. And, my head's getting close to some of the beams that were kind of coming down, and you're kind of, the way you snake your way through the underside of Fenway is just, I love all of that stuff. And, the particular seats that we sat in were kind of just like wooden benches with like section markers in them. They looked, I don't know how long specifically those had been there, but they looked like they'd been there a very, very long time. Yeah, Yeah, I don't. I mean, you got to see the Ted Williams seat. 500 feet away from home play out there in the outfield. We got to see the Truly deck. I mean, it was
the hollowed Truly deck. I think the
well.
most recent addition to the entire stadium.
I thought that was so funny. We're talking to these two ushers when we walk in to get our seats, and we got a group of 15 some odd dumbass dudes walking with us. So I assume
16. It was 16 because it was 15, and then the server from the night before that we invited to the game.
Yeah,
shout out to Sonny.
Sonny was there. Sonny kept bringing me sausages. I was happy. Yeah, he kept. I think I had like 3 sausages that night. So shout out to Sonny big time. But yeah, I thought it was super funny. We were kind of talking to this usher, and I think I said like, "Hey, it's our first time here. What should we go check out?" And they're like, "Oh, the Truly deck. The Truly." We're like, "What are you talking about?" You
gotta go to the Truly deck.
Yeah, and it's like a Truly hard seltzer, like super modern. It's got like baseball shaped tables and a super nice bar with flat screens all over it. So we went up there and we're kind of just poking around. But I did think that was a little bit funny. We're in an over 100-year-old ballpark, and he says, "Well, this hard seltzer deck is where it's at."
Yeah, you got to try out the seltzer deck. I love baseball so much that I want everything that I'm doing, including the table that I'm sitting at, to be baseball related. So,
well, how do you know where you are?
Right. It did work out for me. And yeah, I mean, the Truly, I think, the point they were making with us going to the Truly deck is it's like way higher than everything. So we were able to see the full stadium and sort of like look almost across and down a little bit to the Green Monster, giving you a, kind of a unique perspective.
You know what I didn't expect, Nate?
What's that?
I didn't expect the Green Monster to be so scary.
I was terrified the whole time.
I was terrified the entire time. I called the police.
I was really glad that we had that pole kind of in front of us in our seats.
Oh yeah, that was I think that actually added to the charm. In our seats, we had like 2 rows basically because we have so many dudes, and basically right in between the pitching mound and home plate was a big green like I don't know, steel beam or whatever. You could see everything, but there was like half a second where you'd lose the ball. But again, it just added to the charm
it's like
of Fenway.
Wrigley.
Yeah,
Wrigley,
it is.
Wrigley has the same thing.
Yeah,
the big post right down in the middle. Yeah, it was cool. It was and I mean, what a game too. Cardinals only won one of the games of the series, and we were at the one, and they crushed them.
Apparently, yeah, we should have just gone to all 3. Next time we'll help the Cardinals out by doing that. But yeah, no, we got a great game. We got to explore what do you call it? Ballpark, Fenway Village. Ballpark?
Fenwayville. I don't know. I think they just call the whole area
just
like
Fenway
Park.
Yeah, we got to do some exploring, which was really cool. Yeah, and we had great weather, great game, great. I mean, yeah, it was great. Oh, I also we got to see a couple of things. It was a special game for many reasons.
Yeah,
one of those reasons was Albert Pujols was honored by the Red Sox, and they did a little thing for Yadier Molina as well. But
they gave him the 5. Yeah, they gave him the 5 from the Green Monster. And do you think that's because Machado said something, or do you think they were planning that the whole time? And they're like, "Oh, come on, guy! Like, we were gonna do that."
Honestly, it's hard for me to say this, but I think we have to give Machado credit here. I don't know. But like, I also don't know like how often it is big. Jesus, is Big Papi just spending time in Boston? Is he there all the time? Is he flying back and forth? Was that did they do that whole thing for Albert, or
was he just there?
I don't know exactly how all that works, but it was pretty cool, and the crowd went crazy.
They're like, "Oh shit, we should do something for Pujols." Papi's in town. That'll work. And give him the 5 from the scoreboard. No, it was really cool. We were up on the Truly deck raging pretty hard before we even realized, that was going on.
Yeah.
But it was, crazy to happen to have been there when they did that, which was really cool.
And we got to see, we already said this, but we got to see a great game. Nolan hit a bomb right off the bat. Well, literally off the bat and right off the beginning of the game.
I find most home runs come off the bat.
I knew you were going to say that. Gorman hit that bomb to dead center, which, whether you've been to Fenway or not, that's an absolute bomb to get it over that big wall in center. And then another surprise, I can't believe that you guys went through the great lengths to book this for me, but Neil Diamond came out during the 7th inning stretch and sung Sweet Caroline.
He was the hardest get of the whole thing.
Yeah.
I am deeply in debt.
Yeah, I would imagine. But like that, obviously, I don't think any of us expected that other than those who planned it. And talk about seeing a packed stadium go wild. I mean, they were happy about Big Papi. They were happy about the game that was happening and everything like that. And like a lot of Red Sox fans, pegged us immediately, and they were giving us a lot of grief, which was a lot of fun. But when Neil Diamond came out, that was like, I don't know if I've seen anything like that at a baseball. It was a whole baseball stadium screaming and singing every word.
Us included. It was a ton of fun. Yeah. Like earlier in the game, I was talking to someone saying, like, are you ready for Sweet Caroline? Whenever, because I knew that tradition. And I think we even joked about Neil Diamond being there because I was dropping diamond cutters on everyone whenever all those home runs were happening. So I think I accidentally summoned Neil Diamond.
You may have. He's an old man. He needs to get his rest. Leave him alone.
Big Papi can carry him around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what more to ask for from the one time either of us have been to Boston, we get at least to Fenway. I had never been to Boston either. I don't know about yourself, but yeah, it was a great weekend. I ate more seafood in the last 72 hours too than I have in the last 10 years. St. Louis, not a renowned seafood city. I know Denver, not really either.
No.
We have the Mississippi River. We get some catfish every once in a while, but you don't want to eat
seafood.
Those.
That's water food.
Water food.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
Lobster rolls. I know we both we had a very gluttonous dinner one of the nights, and you and I both ordered some ridiculous ribeye, and then thought it'd be good to add a lobster tail on top of that.
Hell yeah. And you know what? It was a good idea.
Oh, absolutely. It was maybe the best idea I had all weekend. At least it was one of the only ones that nourished me and made me feel good. Everything else was kind of taking away. So
yeah,
it was great.
Mostly downhill decision making. But yeah, it was it was Fenway. It lived up.
It's everything you want it to be. Yeah, that is kind of the way, especially if you care about baseball. It is everything you want it to be. And I have to not the whole group is not baseball fans. I think everyone had I do think there's an energy to it when you're in the stadium. And I think we got lucky, and maybe Boston fans are just good like this. I don't really know, but I kind of alluded to it. I had it was a couple that was sitting in front of me, and they were just giving me the hardest time about being a Cardinals fan. And I'm if you see the video, I'm wearing a Green Monster hat, and they were confused. Like, you're rooting for Arenado's home run, but you're wearing a Green Monster hat. Who the hell are you? What are you doing here? I had a father and his daughter next to me, and they were kind of getting after me as well for who I was rooting for. And then there was this whole party of 6 people that were turning around and flipping me off, and it was all with a smile and everything. It was all fun and games. I think probably most baseball fans have had that experience where maybe they're in an opposing team stadium and or NHL or NFL or whatever it is, and maybe that game wasn't so fun, or felt uncomfortable, or oh, this guy's going to hit me. I think they did it aggressively and playfully in a way that was not scary, I guess what I'm trying to say.
I think some of that is sort of at least until 2016, I think the Red Sox have a view on the Cardinals in the same way that the Cardinals fans have a view on the Cubs, which is one of sort of pity. Because the last 2 World Series that the Cardinals have lost have been to the Red Sox. So I think they're oh, who are these flies landing on our hallowed grounds? We'll just swat them away. I mean, the worst part about the only bad part about Fenway is that the Red Sox play there. We were also sitting on the Red Sox side. We were on first base side, so
enemy territory.
I had my Ozzie Smith shirt on though, And I got a lot of love from even Red Sox fans that were coming up to me and shouting out the Ozzie Smith shirt. And St. Louis showed up still, just it being there were St. Louis fans all over the place. And just throughout the whole weekend in Boston, we kept running into people in town for the game, which was fun.
Yeah, they were everywhere. We yelled at Ken Rosenthal. He was.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was a national game. Obviously, we were there, so we weren't watching it on TV. But I didn't realize it was a national game until we, towards the basically at the bottom of the eighth, we snuck down really close to the field, and we see Kenny Rosenthal just sitting there right in front of us. And I think maybe I yelled or somebody yelled, and he kind of turned around.
He gave a polite head nod,
Yeah,
he's got a great smile, right?
I do think he was like, these 30-year-olds are wearing me out right now.
Yeah, he's like, I'm working right now. Leave me alone.
Yeah, it was pretty good, and he's small.
Yeah, he's small. We were able to essentially sit front row at Fenway, which was fun. Yeah. That's the move. Anytime a game like that, it was a blowout at that point, and half the Red Sox fans had left, so we just unmolested were able to move right down to the front row and scream at Ken Rosenthal. It was great.
Yeah, just super eventful from our standpoint. Yeah, like I said, I think we did everything that you can do at Fenway. It's pretty great.
Well, hopefully, we find ourselves out there again sometime in the future. And if you are out there listening and you've been considering going to Fenway for a game, I think we definitely recommend it. It was awesome.
Man, just do it, even if the Cardinals aren't there. Although the Cardinals will be there probably next year or the year after with the schedule changes. Just go. It was awesome. Also, I recommend, taking, 15, 16 friends and kind of, taking over a whole section and being an obnoxious glob of humanity. That's definitely the way to do it.
I agree. So why don't we talk a little bit about the Cardinals now? But congrats, Ben, again. If for some reason, this was the first episode that you've listened to, we did all this for Ben's bachelor party. So congrats, Ben. Despite our best efforts, we were not able to kill him. So,
before we get into that, I will say that one of the plans that got derailed was we were going to go skydiving. So you probably were going to kill me at that point. And then we opted. Some of us got tattoos, so that'll get infected. We'll see what happens there.
I'm really bummed because my plan was to fill your parachute backpack up with pots and pans.
Thanks, pal.
Yeah.
Well, next time
I was going to drop a piano on you when you hit the ground.
That'll do it. Yeah, I think you could forego the pots and pans if you're going to drop a piano on me.
All right. So we have a few things to talk about this week. So first, just got to hit on Goldie's keeping it rolling. We're wishing the best with his current lower back discomfort, but that seems to be okay. But he just won NL Player of the Week, continuing his hot streak coming out of May. With Mookie on the IL, it doesn't seem like that's going to be a long time, but still with Mookie on the IL, it's hard not to see Goldie as the front runner for MVP right now.
Yeah, I know Manny's in that conversation too, and Manny's defensive side, that obviously being an elite, Arenado level defender at third helps him out a lot. But, and I know we have Cardinals colored glasses. It is hard for me to find a player that has been more valuable to their team in the National League than Paul Goldschmidt. Not to mention, I think it's kind of unfair, like the way that WAR is calculated and that kind of stuff. That obviously if you play a less premium defensive position, first base being the least premium position, it degrades your or it kind of undercuts your WAR score or your calculation or whatever. And I kind of find I understand it, and there's more math to it than I just said that makes a lot of sense. But I do think that Paul Goldschmidt's defense is underrated, and I do think that he should get some obscure percentage of the other players in the infield's defensive WAR add because of how much throws he saves. I know that is impossible to calculate. I also don't think MVP or any of these awards should come down to one number like WAR, or really any number at all. But I do think that should be considered, and especially in part of this conversation, and especially if you're watching Paul on a basis like you and I are, or the folks listening, like, who's been better than him?
Yeah. Tommy Edman, baby. Leading baseball and WAR, which
but
is
do you
exactly
believe
what
that? I think Tommy's great.
I don't know. Did you see the game the other night? He was all over the field. He was catching fly balls in right field, catching fly balls in foul territory in left field. He made that crazy up the middle play to steal that base hit. Like that actually the game the other night was where I was like, okay, like I'm all in now. It's taken me a couple months. You and I were both sort of skeptics, but like that game where he was just everywhere, I was like, all right, that is where the defense, like the premium defensive positioning, like you see it a lot more. And guys like Bader, obviously, like you can see it more. I know what you're saying. Well, I don't disagree with it, but like there is something about a high end defensive shortstop that you just watch a game and you're like, what they're doing is bringing excess value to the team.
Yes, and I want to be clear. Like, I agree that a shortstop defensively is far more valuable than a first baseman. I just want to be super clear with that. And yet, you don't see Paul, cutting off Tommy or Brendan Donovan or whoever is to fight for those fly balls. These guys are all over the field. And I think you kind of, when you were just talking about that, what it made me think of is how I think I kind of thought, maybe we even chatted about on the show, about the idea that maybe Tommy Edman would be a little overexposed at shortstop. Maybe the arm wouldn't look great. Maybe whatever, we didn't know what it was going to look like. And I think that if anything, it is kind of like, I don't know, taking the plastic wrapping off of Tommy Edman. Like, he looks like he's
all over the place.
He is more involved. He is more valuable. Like, I wouldn't say the arm pops off, the page or anything like that, but it's everything that you need. And he is everywhere. The range is ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, between him and Arenado, who, like, at this point, I think is like, because of the flashiness of Edman and Bader and even like Goldie's offensive explosion, it's like somehow Nolan Arenado has become like like the most like secretively valuable person on the team, but he's still he's making insane plays at third base, but I guess we're so used to it at this point that it's like, oh yeah, that's just what Arenado does.
Arenado's like a guy.
He had that, what game was it? He had a diving play, ball bounces off his glove. He picks it up and throws it and gets the out at second, because I thought the ball was going to punch through the glove. I thought it was going to knock, like it was a Donovan or Edman. I thought it was going to punch them backwards like a Dragon Ball Z hit or something. Like, it was insane that he made that play. So, not that we're kind of spiraling here on what our topic is, but it's when you look at what they had a board on one of the games that was like the top four in WAR in base, or in the NL right now, is Edman, and then Machado, and then Goldschmidt, and then Arenado, and it's like, well, that's tight. It's why the Cardinals are successful right now, is that they're like, we're getting a lot of good stuff from these sort of plug and play guys. Donovan is doing great, and Bader's been good and whatnot, but it's really that, like, the highs are incredibly high on the team right now.
Yeah, the team has stars right now, whether the public or the rest of baseball notices that or not. This is a star-laden team all of a sudden, which is not how I predicted this season going.
No, well, it's not how the Cardinals have been, arguably, since Pujols. Like, you could maybe make an argument that, like, Beltran, when they signed him, he was a big star, but even he's more of like the Carlson mold.
And Beltran was fading. He was not what he used to be at that point. Same
Holiday,
with Bergman.
Holiday, but like, really, there hasn't been like a superstar on the Cardinals since that has been performing like a superstar.
Right.
Because obviously Goldschmidt's been on the team for a couple of years, and this is Arenado's second year. So, I don't know. I think, 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 I think Yeah. Well, I guess let's talk about some of the other maybe rising stars on the team. Gorman, huge game, puts the team on his back. Huge series against Brewers. We don't talk a lot about the individual series on the show right now, but like playing maybe the biggest series of the season right now, playing for first place in Milwaukee. First game, kind of a dud, but this last one, Gorman. I mean, what a showing.
Yeah, I mean, Gorman steals that game away for you in a time where, we didn't know what Jack Flaherty was going to give the Cardinals. He puts his 2 home runs and then 2 hits and 4 or 5 RBIs, something like that. I mean, basically wins the game by himself, like you're talking about. And I think we're just going to keep being surprised by Gorman. But I think I was kind of looking at these numbers, and they're pretty in line with his. He's walking, I think it's slightly higher and striking out slightly less than he was in AAA, which makes me think he's just kind of slowing everything down a little bit. We know about the leg kick that he's kind of shortened that down. But I think the quality of the at-bats is also starting to surprise me. We've talked about how the power is like, yeah, we knew he has power. Now he's banking home runs off the back wall at Miller Park, American Family, whatever the hell it's called now, Miller Park.
Yeah.
I'm going to be obstinate about that. And now I'm seeing him
the brand I want it to be named after is the beer one, not the insurance one.
They're the Brewers. How did they let it go?
Yeah,
they're the Brewers. I hate that, but the quality of at bats, his ability to lay off, a little bit Brendan Donovan in him. I think Brendan Donovan's still walking at double the pace that Gorman is because he's ridiculous. But yeah, I mean, he looks like an adult or whatever you want to call it. He looks like a guy that's done this before.
And every one of his home runs, except for one now, has been over 400 feet. And the one that was not was 396 feet. Like, come on, give it to him. Give him that 4 feet. How do you really measure that anyway?
If it was 1 degree warmer or something like that, they would have gone. Right.
Yeah. So, that's been fun. On the less fun side of things, we have a couple injured list moves. First one, Yachty. I think this is a good thing for Yachty. I'm hoping that you never want someone to get hurt, obviously, but it seems like it's sort of minor. And as we talked about last week, he's been bad. So let's give him a couple weeks away. We've seen flashes of success from him this year. So maybe a couple weeks off will reignite. The only thing that really is a bummer to me is that this is 2 or 3 less starts of him and Waino. And they only need 8 more, but like the season is moving along, and so every one they miss, that's one less opportunity. So, who knows from an injury standpoint. So, I'm not usually like a big record watching guy, but this is one of those ones that it's like seemed unbreakable and they have a shot at it. So I really feel invested in them getting it. But if he comes back and, I wouldn't surprise me if we start to see him being like only starting Waino starts in the back half of the season.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about, this is probably, other than the pitching staff, which we'll talk about later, if there's a change to be made on the position player side, it's catcher. Definitely didn't want it to happen this way. I think we talked about there's like added value in Yachty and Ivan. It's Ivan. That is locked in now. I don't know how we've been pronouncing it, but it is Ivan according to him. And this story that Rick Horton tells on the broadcast every time he's mentioned. I think we talked about the added value of Ivan and Yachty hanging out together and talking and having the informal coaching sessions and all that stuff. And I still would not be super surprised to see the Cardinals carry 3 catchers at one point or demote Kinzer. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not happy about this. I was kind of thinking that the move would be to put down Kinzer and have up Ivan. But yeah, I think that you're right. I wonder how much of this was Yachty's barking a little bit, hey, why don't you take the time off? Or if this injury is more serious, it's hard to get a read on that, especially the way that Yachty's been used this year is so much different. We're kind of in uncharted water for us Cardinals fans. So yeah, I don't know.
Well, I guess, all we can do is wait and see. The other one that is really more disappointing to me because he'd been looking so good. And we saw him in Boston. Looked like old Ty was back. Tyler O'Neill I mean, been hitting over 300, couple home runs, bunch of stolen bases. Like he looked like late season last year, Tyler O'Neill, and he's got a hamstring issue, which is never something you want to hear from a guy who speed is a major part of their game.
Right.
Everyone is calling it minor, which is good, but still, it really, really big bummer. The timing of it all felt bad because it felt like we were maybe going to get that moment that we were hoping for this year of Arenado, Goldie, and Tyler O'Neill all playing well at the same time. So hope he has a speedy recovery. I guess that's just how baseball go.
Yeah, it's, I think I can't, I don't know. I'll maybe we'll look into this and talk about this more next episode, but it definitely feels anecdotally like the Cardinals are being more cautious with their injuries this year. And I don't know if that's because of spring training, if I'm making this up in my head. But I kind of like it. I'd much rather have Tyler be at 100% than being kind of like half worn down for the rest of the season.
Yeah.
And I do think, or I guess what to say is I feel a lot better about it this time because he was hitting and he was producing and he was looking good and having decent at bats. So I think that we can all maybe sleep a little easier this time and not be like, I don't know when Tyler's going to come up. I don't know what's going to happen. His timing, this and that, I do feel better in that sense.
My guess, because I think you're right that this year feels differently. But this year, they actually have bench players who are being successful at the major league level.
Yeah, you're right.
So it's like, okay, we can be a little more cautious with O'Neill because Donovan will play a serviceable left field and give you competitive at bats. Last year, the moment there was an injury, it fell apart. Like there was no one there to fill that spot. So.
This Memphis squad has turned the team around. I think that is probably the biggest value add right there is what you just said. I think that's a great point.
A lot of love going to Randy Flores right now, scouting director. And I think for good measure, like the team is half rookies right now and, competing for first place, and they're not just, being role players. Some of these guys are really a major part of the team right now. And
there's some freaks in the minors still.
Yeah. Mason Wynn, Jordan Walker, maybe the two of the most exciting prospects we've had in the system for a long time now. And they're just, working their way through Double-A. So, was it Tink Hence also from the 2020 draft is looking really, really good. He's a monster. So it's, I guess, nice to have a good farm system again. It took a little while, but it's fun.
The pitching contributions from these kids too, Palante and Thompson, have been huge. I mean, the youth on this team has been driving everything, and then we just get to watch the stars be stars. And it's starting to feel a little special. Like I'm starting to feel a little tingle.
Oh, don't! I'm not ready, Ben. I can't have my heart broken.
A little playoff tingle. We'll see that.
Don't talk about your little playoff tingle. Well, we talked about it, I think it was last week. We have some more clarity now on a couple things. Hicks is seemingly nearing return, and he will be in the bullpen. And Palante, at least for now, seems to have that rotation spot. So those things seemingly are working themselves out. Hicks in the bullpen is probably the right thing right now because outside of, we've been talking about this for a little while, but basically outside of the big guys, the other half of the bullpen is pretty rough. And I think Hicks would be a huge addition to that, assuming he comes back effective.
Yeah, I think, we know what did Ollie say in spring training? 105 out of the bullpen is pretty neat. I think he said something to that effect. And it is. Absolutely it is. I agree. It's probably the right move. The starter experiment did not go great. It kind of really never got off the ground is the way that I view it, though. And I'm curious to see what kind of workload he gets, what the schedule looks like. Is he going to have, 1 2-inning a week and then 1 inning a week? Is it still going to be regimented? Are they still going to be pretty careful with it? But I mean, the priority is keeping him safe, keeping him healthy. Not safe. Yeah, I'm sure he's very safe. But the whole thing that they're talking about is, well, we believe we can keep him healthier through this route, and then he doesn't. So now they're switching back. I guess I agree that it's the right move. I'm confused on the Cardinals messaging on it though a little bit. It's a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
Yeah. Well, I hope long term, basically, they're saying he's not done as a starter for the future. Just right now, he's best used in the bullpen. And I mean, that's kind of like Zach Thompson. Zach Thompson is a starter, should be in a rotation, but right now the team needs him in the bullpen. So why don't we just move into talking about the pitching, in general. Flaherty's back, not a great start, but he's back, and so we pencil him into the rotation and assuming health, he's starting every 5 days. I guess Mozeliak, though, I don't know if you want to read the quote. Mozeliak has started to talk a little bit about the team's needs.
So yeah, I'll read. I'll think I'll read that, and then we can kind of talk about this. And this is from an interview that Mo did with The Athletic. Shout out Katie Wu, who got this quote and who is great. It's so again, John Mozeliak said that it would probably be rotation help if they're to make any adjustments to their current big league roster. The biggest need for improvement right now is probably rotation help. Now that would come internally. It's early June. But there's no doubt we struggled with innings from week to week. So having someone able to bridge, that would be helpful.
Classic, like saying a lot of words without saying a whole lot of things,
Yeah, it's a lot of nothing. But I do think if there's anything to take out of that little soundbite or whatever, it's that he calls out the starting pitching. And I think that...
Yeah.
is interesting in the sense that I think starting pitching is a lot harder to acquire midseason. I think relievers can be found.
I don't know. I mean, we got such stars as John Lester and J.A. Happ last year. I mean,
you are right. Yeah, both are one borderline Hall of Famer and one guy. I can't even think of what team he had his legacy with. Really, who was J.A. Happ big with?
Blue Jays or Philly?
Blue Jays?
Yeah.
New York? Someone
I'm
over
walking
east. So I think that's interesting. There's a lot of, I think there's interesting names all over. There's some guys in the Tigers organization that I think you could think about. Obviously, that big fish is over with the Oakland A's, Frankie Montas, although he is going to be the belle of the ball. And I think everyone's going to go after him. And I would be shocked if the Cardinals will move some of their young guys to get fleeced by the A's and get Montas. Although I would love that. I mean, a dude that throws a 98-mile-an-hour sinker all day is pretty good. Cardinals defense would do really well with that.
And think about what it does for the team. Palante is doing well in the rotation, and good for him. But imagine it was him who is your long relief instead of being in the rotation. What it was at the start of the season, everything looks, the bullpen, the back half or the weak half of the bullpen looks a lot better if they only have to pitch every once in a while, and we're not doing multiple games a series where we're going into the bullpen in the third or fourth inning, and something you have to use everyone all the time. That's where these issues compound. I don't think guys like TJ McFarland, they're a problem. Verhagen, they're not great, but really they're also Marmol can only use what he's got, and you can't throw your best ones every game. So
you have to use your whole bullpen. That is Mo's fault. That is not. Yeah, I 100% agree with what you're saying. I think this also, Mo's little quote there, obviously so many names kind of pop around your head. Andrew Chafin, he's a reliever, but I think would be an interesting pickup for the Cardinals. I would be very curious if the Reds would even entertain the possibility of trading Luis Castillo to the Cardinals. I don't know, because that 10 years ago, not a chance in hell would that kind of trade happen in the Central, especially with two teams that have a sense of rivalry or whatever, even though the Reds have been kind of nothing. but that would be a name that I'd be really interested in. I think he's only got 1 year left. And I think Cardinals fans really know a lot about Luis Castillo, the crazy fastball and the even crazier changeup. But that's a guy that I could see fitting in really well. And maybe being a little less expensive than Montas. Now maybe I'm wrong on that. And maybe the central thing makes that cost trade wise more equal.
Montes still has a couple years though, right?
Castillo he has 1 year after this. But
I believe Castillo is a free agent after this year. So I think it would ultimately be the Cardinals that are probably more hesitant than that to do that than the Reds, because the Reds are losing him anyway. They're just going to look for the best package they can get. But like I could see the Cardinals not wanting to give the Reds like an Alec Burleson or or like a Tink Hence or whatever it would cost, because of that, right? In division thing, which I feel like I've always been a little confused by that. Like I've always thought it was a little overblown because a trade should generally be helping both teams, and you're helping yourself in it. But I do get the like trading for a rental is like very much like I'm making it harder to beat you maybe for years to come, and you don't care at all because you're already out this season. So I get that, but it always surprising to me just how much teams avoid in division trades.
I think it's probably on an ownership level is where people like, I think an owner or a high level executives have an issue with being like, oh my God, this, I don't know. Tommy Pham is killing us again or whatever. Like, why is he not on my team still? I think that it's really just comes down to optics. I don't think it's any like high level baseball thinking. I think it's more just like, you got to be kidding me. I knew this guy. I drafted this guy. I've had dinner with him and his family. And now he's stabbing a knife in me. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of interesting starters out there. Like I said, the Tigers, the Big Kitties, the Motor City Kitties have some interesting options. I don't know.
It's quite the string of nicknames.
I'm glad that those conversations are being had. At least, I guess I'll say that.
Yeah. I mean, this is the Mo cycle of updates. He starts out with like, well, things aren't really always working out the way that we planned them. And then, 2 weeks later, I think maybe if we had to objectively and subjectively re-review the analysis of the last three of our starters, you would arguably say that it might be one of the lower parts of our team. And
ultimately, that's not going to.
Yeah, ultimately, it's not going to, do what we want. And we're thinking about it, Anyway, I got to go to my bow tie salesman.
Good bow tie rip in there. That's always good.
He wears a great ascot sometimes too,
What a man of the people.
He is a man of the people. Like earlier in the season when he walked back Ollie Marmol saying that they want to win the World Series.
Oh my God. Yeah. That insane.
Yeah.
I know that Mozeliak must be a very competitive person to be in the field that he's in and doing the job, but how he can turn it off like that for the cameras is insane to me.
Yeah. What else? Anything else on the pitching you want to talk about?
Yeah, I had another quote I wanted to read. This one is for Mr. Marmol. And I think, it really speaks to the bullpen usage and just kind of how that's going to happen going forward. So again, this is Marmol talking to the Athletic, Katie Wu. Going forward, Johan Oviedo will take over for Drew Verhagen's role in the bullpen, while Zach Thompson will do the same for TJ McFarland. I think that is very good news. I think TJ, we've been bagging on TJ McFarland for a few weeks here. Like, how does this guy still have a job on a big league roster? The Verhagen of it all is very confusing to me because the break ball is obviously good. It breaks aggressively, and we all know about the spin rates. Like he's a high spin guy, and the breaking ball's doing that, and the fastball's doing it well. People are just pounding him. He has been. I guess depending on the innings limit, him or McFarland have been the two worst pitchers on the team, and it's not being in the box, it is easy for me to understand McFarland throwing up 85-mile-an-hour nothing ball, and then Verhagen throwing this big hook and this hammer of a fastball. I don't really get it. All that being said, I think these are great moves. I think we're a Johan Oviedo apologist podcast. We are pro Oviedo. So
Yes.
happy to see him and his pro Oviedo. Damn it, I should have had that. And Zach Thompson, I think. Wow. I mean, we talked about him in his major league debut against the Cubbies. He went 4 innings and looked fantastic. Or that might not have been his debut, but his coming out party. And that makes all the sense in the world. The dude's got gas and a great breaking ball from the left side.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And, I like the Marmot quote again for its directness and, we are using these guys in this way. They are taking this job, very direct and pretty clear.
That has been such a nice change. The last thing I wanted to note on the pitching staff, and I just thought this was a fun little stat, Dakota Hudson, he's been good, not great. I think we've had a little bit of nitpicking in this month, but it should just be noted that in June, he has not given up a single barreled ball. It is him and 3 other guys. So I think we've seen a changing of Dakota Hudson here in this month or 6 weeks or so. And we've talked about it in past episodes about the slider usage, changing up his pitch mix, keeping his pitches down. He's doing things right. And that just really stuck out to me because everybody gets hit hard and he has not got hit hard for, is it 3 starts now?
Yeah.
So, wow.
Yeah, I think it is great. It's he definitely has still some things to figure out, but whatever his adjustment has been, it is starting to work. So that's exciting. Well, we have a few league-wide topics to talk about. Not a lot before we get to the sort of the ending segment of the episode, but before we do that, we want to remind everyone that this show is supported on Patreon. If you enjoy the show, want to support it, see it grow, help us show your support, we would absolutely love it if you'd go to patreon.com/talkingaboutbirds and consider contributing. There's a lot of goofy levels on there, but if you contribute at any level, you will be invited to the Bird Scored. It is our private Discord server. We're talking about the games, talking about
tweet.
Talking about birds in there. We're talking about all sorts of things. It's been a nice little home for us, and we'd love to have you there with us. Shout out to our existing patrons. And if you can't do that, consider leaving us a nice review on your favorite podcast player. We really appreciate that as well. Ben, where can people find us online?
Yeah, make sure to give us a follow on Twitter at talkaboutbirds, where we're tweeting during the games and making friends and doing all that cute stuff. You can also follow us on Talking About Birds on Instagram. And again, that's Talk About Birds on Twitter, Talking About Birds on Instagram. And of course, if you have any questions, thoughts, musings, complaints, issues, personal grievances, if Nate owes you money, anything like that, you can email us at talkaboutbirds@gmail.com.
Listen, to all the people that I owe money, I'm good for it, man. Okay. I'm going to get it to you. I just need a few more patrons on our Patreon.
We started a podcast to get Nate out of debt. It's not working.
It's not working. All right. So we just have a few topics from around the league to talk about this week. So Ben, what do you want to hit first?
Yeah, one thing I want to hit. Well, actually, I this just came to the top of my head and I didn't even write it down. But it's just very funny to me that Mike Trout hit 5 home runs over the weekend against Seattle. Shohei Ohtani did amazing Shohei Ohtani type things, and they're still losing. Anthony Rendon going down with wrist surgery for the rest of the season. I cannot wait for Shohei Ohtani to become a free agent. I cannot wait for him to sign somewhere else. The Angels are stupid and bad.
Stupid and bad. I agree. And cursed, it seems.
He is getting Barry Sanders. It's just happening. He's never going to win unless he leaves. I feel I feel resolute in that. I want
Yeah.
Mike Trout to leave that team, and I want Shohei Ohtani to become a Cardinal, and Cardinals re-sign him for a big money deal, and going to Cooperstown wearing a Cardinal hat. Anyways,
Deal.
that's just awesome. Another thing I wanted to talk about was the MLB sent a memo to teams with specific instructions on how to mud the ball after Michael Lorenzen kind of another Angel. That's kind of why it was in my mind. Was talking about the reason that he hit a player recently. I think this was last night or the night before of this record. He slipped and hit a guy, and I just like this. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because it is 2022. We've been mudding balls for over 140 some odd years. There has been so much conversation about how the ball should be mudded, how sticky tack should be used, how it shouldn't be used, sunscreen, bullfrog, all these various things. The Japanese league has a well-tacked ball. The Olympic ball was well-tacked. We don't have these same complaints in college baseball. How is the what is MLB doing with the ball, and why can they not just have a plan that actually makes sense? This is, I think the idea of sending out the memo is obviously they're trying their best, but their best isn't good enough. And how are we still having conversations like this?
I don't know, Ben. It's almost as if the league has had a string of terrible commissioners now for, I don't know, 3 decades.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll just kind of pair this with, like MLB has talked about how the humidifiers, they don't know exactly how, every team is using a humidifier to store their balls nowadays, and they don't know exactly how that's going to affect because there are people way smarter than me that can explain this, but essentially the dew point outside affects the dew point inside the humidor. So that means that it actually might not be doing what it's supposed to be doing in certain environments. And it's like they didn't take into account the atmospheric pressures of the various stadium locations. Just like, how can a billion-dollar organization be so
bad at the argument, it's the name of the game is baseball.
There is one piece of equipment that matters to get right. It's the ball.
And it's the one that they have the most like say and control over, other like, yeah, it's
I think them buying the company that makes the ball, I think that was probably the downfall. Like that should not have, like some antitrust something or other should have came in for that. I find that to be insane. But anyways, that happened. I find it funny, although infuriating. We can move on from that. The other thing I wanted to talk about with you, Nate, and this is just a question for you because I'm curious to hear your thought. There is a new TV show, a League of Their Own TV show. Nick Offerman is in it. Abby Jacobson from Broad City is in it and is the head writer. And a bunch of other funny people. Darcy Carden. I can't think of all the actors and actresses off the top of my head. But are you excited about this? Do you yearn for baseball TV shows?
I guess I didn't know I needed it. I'm as excited as the next guy. It seems like it's a good group of people coming together to make the show. Anytime you hear about any sort of, reboot or remake, or we're taking a beloved IP and we're going to twist it and do a new thing with it. Like my initial reaction is, well, that's going to be bad. But I don't know. I mean, why not? I guess give it a shot. It could be funny. Like you said, there's a lot of good people involved in it. There isn't a lot of baseball, fiction out there right now. So I could go for, a good baseball TV show. Like, I loved Ted Lasso and it made me like soccer more, and so like maybe a good TV show for baseball could make people like baseball more. I don't know.
I forgot to. I think the thing that'll probably get baseball fans on board is that Michael Schur is also the creator.
Of course he is.
And if those of you who don't know who Michael Schur is, he's the one that created The Office. and Parks and Rec and The Good Place, and I'm sure another couple of TV shows I'm not thinking about. And more
Like all the
importantly,
good NBC shows basically have come from him.
And more importantly, before that was even a thing, him and a couple other guys ran the Fire Joe Morgan website, which is like it's just an old, what we were probably in high school when that was a thing. Like an old nerd, stat nerd website and blog, obviously named after them thinking that Joe Morgan needs to go for saying so many stupid things.
And there's
gives me a little bit of faith.
That I didn't know that, and that definitely helps. There's baseball, like Easter eggs in every show that he runs because he's such a big fan. So, well, that definitely helps. Like I said, I'm not too protective of any like IP, no matter how much it's beloved to me. Like everything is redone and remade so many times that like whatever, just if it's good, it's good, and if it's bad, it's bad. I don't think that a bad one thing ruins the previous thing that was good, So like, sure, go for it. I'll give it a shot.
Yeah. Cool. All right. That's all I got for this week.
All right. Well, let's jump into our last segment. I think, when I look back at the different games that we've played, and their challenge level, I think
I need something easy today.
Well, I'm sorry, Ben.
Are you gonna kick my ass? Okay.
It's time for it's what the people want.
Yeah.
It's definitely the most challenging game. This week we're playing another edition of Bird or Boy.
Oh, yeah. Look, up in the sky. It's a bird.
It's a plane.
It's a bird. It's a bird. It's a bird.
It's a bird. It's a boy.
Yeah, no, right. I'm terrified.
All right, so I have a list here.
Yeah.
That it is either
It is either. You said that like a question master or something. I don't know.
I am the question master.
Okay.
It is either the last name of a real life Major League Baseball player or a type of bird. Okay.
And if I remember from the first time we played this, baseball player alive or dead?
Baseball player. They played Major League Baseball at some point.
Yes. Okay.
Yep. And if so, you're gonna make a guess, and if it was a bird, you'll hear this. And a new addition to the game. If it's a baseball player, you'll hear this.
A real boy.
All right, I'll give it to you on that one. That made me laugh.
It's from the Disney Pinocchio. I'm hopeful that we won't get sued for this.
Come at us, Disney.
That's right. All right. Here, let me get my thing set up here right in front of me so I can stay talking into the microphone as I go over all this nonsense.
I'll tell you what, Nate. Usually I feel confident coming into these games. Today, I feel like shit.
I thought I'd exploit your, your lack of brain power this weekend and really burn you with some high-minded. We like to have fun on this show, but sometimes we have to get serious and buckle down and do some real work. Yeah. Okay, so your first one, Magadan.
Magadan. You said it with a little bit of an accent, which makes me think. Yeah, I don't think a bird name you would say with an accent, so that makes me think it's a person. But you also may have just misspoke because you're stupid. Wow. I'm going to go...
Both things you have to account for.
I'm going to go with Magadan is a real boy.
A real boy!
Yes.
That's right.
I read you like a book.
It might also be pronounced Magadan, which...
Magadan. A worrisome character there.
Yeah, right. I don't want to hang out with Magadan. Dave, Magadan or Magadan. He actually put up 21 Baseball Reference WAR through the late 80s and all the way into early 2001. So he played all the way through the 90s.
All right.
All right. Sickle Bill.
Sickle Bill. That I'm assuming, knowing you, that as this goes on, you're going to get more obnoxious, and maybe you're playing it a little easy right here. So that has to be a bird. Bill. There's Bill in it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Like a duck bill. Yes. Thank you, duck.
Sickle Bill. It's a large member of the birds of paradise family. This species is found throughout most of central New Guinea and the Vogelkop region to the northwest in mountain forests at altitudes from 1,800 to 2,150 meters.
Are we doing infotainment? Is that what this is?
That's what this is. Yep. All right. Phoebe.
Say it again.
Phoebe.
Like one of the friends, Phoebe?
Like one of the friends.
Like one of the friends. Was there somebody named Scott Phoebe in the 70s? I'm going to say yes, there was. That's a boy. Oh.
Phoebe is
named after a duck?
Is a passerine bird in the tyrant flycatcher family. It breeds from southwest Oregon and California south through Central and South America. It occurs year-round throughout most of its range and migrates less than the other birds in its genus, though its northern populations are partially migratory.
All right. I'll say it again. Every time you read this bird copy, I think you're losing your mind. Nate never gets more excited for this podcast than when he's reading off bird facts. He's locked in.
We're giving the people what we want, or what? Yeah, we're giving the people what we want. I like the bird family. Tyrant flycatcher.
That's scary.
Yeah, they're not just flycatchers; they're tyrants about it.
Yeah, I don't really understand how that works, but I don't like it, and it scares me.
All right, malarkey.
I specifically don't want any malarkey as part of this.
Malarkey and Magadan need to
go fight each other.
Need to work some things out.
Malarkey cannot be a bird because I feel like I think I would just know that, and I'm going. Maybe I'm making this too hard on myself by like thinking, oh, Mike Malarkey, that was totally a home run hitter in the 40s, had to be. So I might be talking to myself in a circle here, but I'm going to say that is also a baseball player.
A real boy!
Yes. Nice. John Malarkey.
John Malarkey.
He put up 0.4 BWAR
for
the Washington Senators, Chicago Orphans, and Boston Beaneaters.
Wow. Chalk the Chicago Orphans up as a team that I did not know exists. Is that a Negro League team? What is that? I've never heard of that.
I don't think it was. I don't know. It showed up on their baseball reference. I mean, the Chicago Orphans is quite the team name. I also like Boston Beaneaters.
That's good. That I can get on board with, and it makes sense.
I thought it was fitting for this episode. All right, moving on. Birdsall.
Birdsall. This one seems tricky, but they usually get more specific with the name than just calling it a bird. So I'm going to say that is also a boy. Or a baseball player or whatever.
A real boy!
Okay.
Yeah.
A real boy!
You got it.
A real boy!
Oh, no.
We were really excited about that one. Dave Birdsall, catcher and right fielder for the Boston Red Stockings in the 1870s.
Where did the last names go? I feel like they just stop. Like, you don't just Are the Birdsalls and the Malarkeys been wiped out? Where are these people with these great last names?
I knew someone whose last name was Songbird.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Was he a baseball player?
No, I knew them.
Okay, then.
I don't know any actual successful people. All right. All right. I thought I'd get you with Birdsall. In Baseball Reference, I just typed in bird.
You dumbass.
I figured there are, I didn't just there was like Greg Bird, you know?
Yeah.
Thought just doing bird would be pretty funny, but I thought I'd go one deeper. All right. Balacasio.
Definitely, it's a good name. I will say that. I like it. But I am going to. I feel like it's a baseball player in my heart, but I'm going to game this. And you've done 2 baseball players in a row, so I'm going to switch to something I don't feel very confident in, and I'm going to say that it is a bird. I'm playing the game.
Yeah, you played the game.
Look at that. That's test taking right there for you.
Yeah.
Anybody need a test? I'll do it.
Well, now I know how to. I'm going to game your game.
But I'll be knowing you're gaming my game, friend.
Hey, shut up. I have to read about this bird.
Yeah, your favorite part.
The Balacasio is a species of passerine bird in the family Dicrundiridae. Oof. It is endemic to the Philippines. Its natural habitat is subtropical or tropical moist lowland forests.
Wow.
All right. Next one. Booby.
I know like the blue-footed booby is the funniest bird of all time, which may not exist anymore. And I will say, if there was a baseball player with the last name of Booby, I would know. So I'm going to say bird. Yeah.
I'm too much of a
no
child.
Way in hell.
Yeah, I'm too much of a child not to include Booby. The brown booby is a large seabird of the booby family, of which it is perhaps the most common and widespread species. It has a pantropical range, which overlaps over inshore waters. Flocks plunge dive to take small fish, especially when these are driven near the surface by their predators. They only nest on the ground and roost on solid objects rather than the water surface. Wow. All right.
I'm glad we have you clear on Mike just saying booby family.
Yeah,
and I guess you have me now too.
Yep. All right. Whacker.
Hardly know her.
Hey.
That's a tough one. I'm going to go human being, though. Baseball player, human being.
A real boy!
Acing
A
it.
real boy!
I'm just so excited. Jimmy Whacker pitched 1 game for the Pittsburgh Pirates in 1909.
It's my guy.
Yep. All right, then the last one. Shell duck.
Wait. Did we do this? Shell duck. We've done this. Haven't we?
I give no information.
Give no information. Shell duck. Oh, wait. No. Okay. You did this, and my brain is telling me it's both. So I'm going to say, because you're a tricky little trickster, I'm going to say it's a baseball player and a bird.
Just a bird that got in your head.
Am I crazy? Have we not done that before?
We did shell duck in the last one too, and you got it wrong because you got like 2 in your head about what kind of.
Okay. I knew. My brain was trying to protect me from something, just not the right way.
I thought I'd do it again just to dig deeper. This is a big, colorful duck, bigger than a mallard, but smaller than a goose. Both sexes have a dark green head and neck, a chestnut belly stripe, and a red bill. Shell duck.
Thanks, Nate.
All right. Well, with that, that's going to wrap up this episode of Talking About Birds. You got 2 wrong out of 8. So pretty good.
Pretty good.
Yeah. And I, you used a little game theory on me to get one of them right. So I have to adjust now. So
hey, the league adjusted you need to adjust back.
That's right. So thank you everyone for listening. Good luck to the Cardinals as they wrap up a big series in Milwaukee. We'll be paying close attention to that, and we will be back next week as always with another episode of Talking About Birds. And until then, go Cardinals.
Thanks everybody.